With Major League Baseball right in the middle of the dog days, you have the stretch run right around the corner, and the Yankees, they have a lot of questions. Their biggest opponent is the calendar.
I'm looking to the bullpen to bring my lefty in. Keep the lead and make your team look pedestrian. It's in your wheelhouse, we'll swing for the fence. You know it's money around here, man, I ain't talking expense. Strike one, heat it low in the way you can't hit it. You know you want to start a rally, but you better forget it. Strike two, off speed, same spot, your car looking. Get ready at the plate, this time you're not cooking. Strike three, swinging out of the zone. You ain't even touch it first. Tell me how they gonna drive you home. Walking back, looking like we ain't cool then. The game's over, might as well put them back to the bullpen, oh yeah.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Bullpen with myself and Mike Stanton. We have been on the mic 2 decades combined. He brings big league experience. I bring local expert analysis. We are part of the Locked On Network, the #1 sports podcasting network, and we're talking a lot of concerns. Teams that are in the playoffs or have playoff aspirations, but have some major players that may not be down for the duration, but time is not on their side, Mike.
No, it is getting late early, and that is what's going on right now. Yeah, you look at it and go, well, you still have 6 weeks, but hold on. You know, some of these guys have been on the IL for a while. We're going to talk about Dansby Swanson, who just went on the IL with an oblique issue. Vladdy Jr. has gone on the IL with concussion protocol. But we're going to start off with the Yankees, and the Yankees have some serious issues, okay? Their pitching staff has been great, and that's really what's kept them afloat. Their offense since June 1st, now that is not just an arbitrary date that we just pulled out of the sky. That is when Aaron Judge went on the IL. Their offense has been like among the worst offenses in all of baseball. I'm talking like 28th.
That's bad. I mean, look, but what's interesting is they are in sole possession right now of the first wild card spot.
They have still won baseball games.
They're 1 win away from 70. And it's kind of insane. The only other team in that area is the Tampa Bay Rays, who has a 6-game lead on them. But to add insult to injury, Max Fried goes back on the IL, and it's like he's only made 5 starts after returning, and now he's injured again. So it's a huge red flag.
So there's a couple things here. Yeah, there's a couple things. Now, Max Fried may be more important than Aaron Judge. And I know people are going to, Mike, you don't know what you're talking about. Just hear me out, okay? Aaron Judge has been on the DL, on the IL, got to put $1 in the jar, the IL for 2.5 months. And the Yankees have been able to stay afloat, okay? Their offense has been bad. But, you ask anybody across the league, if the Yankees make the playoffs, what does that mean? Well, listen, if Max Fried is in that rotation to go with Garrett Cole, to go with Cam Schlittler, to go with Carlos Rodon, you're talking about a team that you absolutely do not want to face, because you only need a handful of runs. All 4 of those guys have the ability to shut you out. And so that makes them a very dangerous team. So with Max Fried going on the IL, with the same injury he's already been on the IL this year with, which is they're calling it a bone bruise in his elbow, that's not terrible. A good thing. And like you said, what happens is when every time you and this is anytime someone throws something, your arm does what's called pronation, which means when you throw, your hand kind of turns out a little bit. And what that does is that helps keep you from hyperextending your elbow. But there's sometimes that you don't. I know in college, I overthrew a curveball one time, and we did the doctor called it, you kind of clanked your elbow, meaning you kind of hyperextended it, went bone on bone, and that causes problem. I'm not saying that's exactly what Max has done, but it's a situation like that he's hit his elbow too many times, either with on something or against itself, and he's created this bone bruise. And that's not something that goes, because one problem you have when you have an issue with one of your bones is there's not a whole lot of blood flow. And without blood flow, you don't get to recover all that quickly. So we don't have any time frame. We also don't know what the severity of the bone bruise is. His last time out, he pitched okay, but it was a grind. He had to really work hard to get through this. And then he comes up with the bone bruise in his elbow. So you take him out of that rotation. Now you're talking about a real issue once the Yankees do make the playoffs.
Well, I think the fact that he's on the 15-day IL, they haven't indicated anything beyond that.
Right.
Of course, you're not going to speculate how long a guy's going to be out, but I mean, he's coming off a career high, Mike, from 2025, 195 and 1/3 innings. I mean, this isn't 1985 anymore. This isn't 1989 or 1980 where guys are throwing 200 plus innings.
Mm-hmm.
But, all I can think about is that 8-year, $218 million contract, and the reason why you pay a guy that is not just to put the uniform on, but it's to be there when the postseason gets here, to be a frontline starter, to be a weapon, and to go along with what you said about him being more important than Aaron Judge. He absolutely is, because you can have a hitter that bangs out the home runs and gets the RBIs. But if you don't have a pitcher that's a stopper, and Max Fried is a stopper, when he's at his best, he's one of the best. Right. And that's why the Yankees paid him. And that's why he got the contract he did. So, it's just not good news, because not only him, but, Aaron Judge still is on this IL, and Aaron Judge just now started throwing, and we don't know what else he's done, Mike, but they clearly need both of these guys back. And I don't think it could have come at a worse time. I don't think it's all over, but it's not a good time to having these things.
Well, like I said, the tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. The clock does not stop for anyone. Yes, right. And the calendar, these weeks, they start clicking off very fast. To tell you the truth, August has a tendency to drag, but once you get to September, man, you fly through September. And to finish on Max Fried, he's pitched very well when he's been out there. I mean, you're talking about a guy in 15 starts has a 2.81 ERA. He's been outstanding. And even in the 5 starts that he had coming off of the IL the first time, he still pitched very well. So hopefully this is something that a little bit of rest and, he can get back on the mound. They can figure out exactly why this keeps happening. And as far as Aaron Judge is concerned, the reason we brought Aaron up is because he's playing catch for the first time in months. Okay.
Yeah.
Which, that is a big step forward, but you don't know what everything else he's been doing, because since it's a rib injury and it's not, and according to Aaron Boone, there still is some healing that needs to be done. So we're not even talking about a completely healed rib. I don't think he's been doing a whole heck of a lot to get himself in baseball shape. He keeps himself in great shape, but he's got to get into baseball shape. And just don't know exactly what he's been doing. The other guy that we have to question is Bellinger, is Cody Bellinger, who he seems to be right on the verge of coming back from the hamstring issue, that he's going to be a rehab assignment. I do not think, if he does go on a rehab assignment, I don't think he's there more than 2 or 3 days. And then you get him back in the big leagues. And even if he's not 100%, it's just a big boost to the lineup to get one of your middle of the lineup impact bat back.
That's right. And to wrap this segment up, Carlos Rodon is expected to return Tuesday from elbow inflammation. Ryan Weathers has really stepped in. He's been important. And with Max Fried going on the IL, it keeps Will Warren in the rotation. But we're going to wrap up. Let
me touch on Rodon for just a quick second. Okay. People, he's kind of overlooked in this situation because guys like Schlittler and Garrett Cole, these guys are so good. Rodon can match, if he's right, he can match any of these guys. He pitched in a game a couple years ago here against the Astros. And I said in the post game on television in the postgame show that was the best arm the Astros had seen all year. So he has the ability, if he's throwing strikes and he's right, he's got the ability to be just as good as any of those other guys.
That's right. You know, the Yankees aren't the only ones that are clearly fighting for position in the playoffs. We've got the Blue Jays, and we'll talk about Vladimir Guerrero Jr. as the Toronto Blue Jays are trying to become playoff relevant. We'll do that next. A big thank you to our friends at Amazon for this limited break. This back-to-school season, spend less on your kids with Amazon. We all know how crazy the back-to-school shopping experience can be. It starts with a few items on the list, and suddenly you're shopping for supplies, for clothes, for lunch gear, tech, and about 10 other things you didn't see coming. It adds up fast. When you buy clothes from back to school and then your kid has a growth spurt 2 weeks later, you're right back where you started. And sometimes it genuinely feels like they're growing faster than your budget can keep up. When the teacher supply list arrives and somehow every item feels completely reasonable on its own, then you add everything together and realize just how much stuff one kid needs for one school year. So remember, with Amazon's low back-to-school prices, just spend less on your kids, because every dollar you don't spend on them is a dollar you haven't spent on them. Shop back to school at Amazon and spend less on your kids.
Welcome back to the Bullpen, presented by the Locked On Network. We're talking about the calendar and how quickly September and the playoffs are going to get here. And the Blue Jays are a team that has been floundering all year. You know, they played a little bit better, but one of the big reasons why they have not been very good, especially offensively, is, you know, their $500 million man in Vladimir Guerrero Jr. just simply has not played well. And now he's going on the IL, the 7-day IL, with concussion protocols.
Yeah, you know, one of the things about his season, I was looking into his stats and just how bad he's been. He hasn't hit a home run in a regular season game since last season.
Crazy.
And that is, I mean, we're not talking about a guy who's an outlier and hits 30 home runs one season. This is a guy who has legitimate power, but 7 home runs in 115 games, a 693 OPS. Look, baseball is hard. Hitting the baseball is not easy. Mm-hmm. Even the names, you know, they say heavy is the head that wears the crown. You know, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., we know recently, not too long ago, signed this big extension with Toronto to become the face of the franchise. He clearly has the enthusiasm. He's got the skills to do it.
Right.
But unfortunately, he's on a 7-day concussion IL. Now, I would say Vlad Guerrero being on the IL is not as detrimental as a 15-day IL stint or some of these other injuries, because he'll be back sooner rather than later. But when you are as close and when the field is so packed, every win matters. And you need Guerrero coming back from this, because what he did was he slid into third base and took George Lombard Jr.'s knee to the head. And so he's on 7-day concussion protocol. But they need everyone they can get. And maybe when he comes back, maybe it's a reset. Maybe he gets hot.
It could be. I mean, he did stay in the game. He stayed in the game long enough to score, and then he came out. So you don't really know exactly how severe it is. And I don't think they're going to know. It's going to take a couple days for them to figure out if he's starting to feel better. Is he getting worse? That's the one thing about concussions. You just simply don't know. I mean, we know that concussions are cumulative, that if it's had a concussion before, you do not completely heal from a concussion, and you're more susceptible to a concussion again if you take another shot to the head. So, he has been, I mean, really, it's remarkable how bad he has been this year offensively, because you have to remember where this guy was in the playoffs and the World Series last year. This guy was a absolute monster. I mean, he was. And it seemed like every time he touched the ball, it was just absolutely crushed. Now, I mean, Toronto can make up for the offense. Actually, they may even be able to do a little bit better. What they're not going to have with Vladimir Jr. Being out is his leadership qualities. You know, he is the face of this franchise. He is the captain of this team, whether he's got a C on his chest or not. That's what they're going to miss. But as far as the offense, I mean, they have a kid coming up, Daz Cameron, who has just absolutely lit it up in AAA. 367 OPS of almost 1050. I mean, those are legitimate numbers. And he's going to a ballpark that is extremely hitter friendly. That's also another reason why the struggles that Vladdy has had is so mind boggling, is because he is in a very hitter friendly ballpark in the Rogers Center.
Yeah, exactly. And one of the things that's keeping the Blue Jays relevant is their rotation.
Yeah,
they're actually thriving. Dylan Cease is out there doing well. You've got Max Scherzer, you got Shane Bieber. I mean, you've also got, well, you have a soft schedule coming up, but they do have the Rays in the next series.
Mm-hmm.
They're off tonight as we speak. And here's one way to put it: your offense can't get any worse. Okay. So you got nowhere to go but up.
Right.
And look, they've got George Springer, who I know hasn't had his best year, but he is a seasoned playoff veteran. He's in the top 3 for all-time home runs postseason. You've got Dylan Cease, you got Max Scherzer. I mean, you've got a coach who's been there, and so where this team may be lacking in the regular season, when they get to the postseason, I think they can still be very dangerous and maybe surprise some people. So so opponents of the Jays, don't let the regular season fool you. This is a team that was outs away from winning a World Series versus the reigning world champions.
Yeah, and I like the idea that you said that maybe this just gives Vladdy a little mental break more than anything else, and maybe he can kind of reset. Hopefully, as far as the concussion protocols are concerned, that he passes all the tests, he's able to get back on his feet, he's able to be active. We'll have to just wait and see what the reports are, but I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing that Vladdy at this particular time, with the struggles that he's had this year, that he gets a little bit of a break.
Yeah, that's right. And what's interesting is their game on Tuesday night. They've got Soriano going, who they just picked up from the Angels. And, adding him to this ball club, to me, is something that I don't think a lot of people talked about. But when you take Soriano from the Angels, where he had, Reed Deppners, but you go to a place where there's Dylan Cease, Shane Bieber, Max Scherzer, that can only be a good thing, Mike, for a pitcher who's had some success this year. Get him like really going in the right track.
I mean, you look at what he did at the beginning of the season. I mean, this guy was the best pitcher on the planet. I mean, it was he wasn't giving up runs in multiple starts in a row. And so, and I think the reason why the Blue Jays got him instead of Detmers is because of the potential high end stuff that he has.
I agree.
This guy is a potential top of the rotation guy, where Detmers is a good starting pitcher. I won't take anything away from him, but you're not talking about a guy that's going to start game 1 or game 2 in a playoff series. And Soriano, if he's right, and with the swing and miss stuff he has, that's who that guy could be.
Yeah, I mean, in his 10.2 innings pitched, he has 7 strikeouts right now in his last 7 games. But this is a guy, Mike, that really could be one of those X factors for them. And like I said, you get a couple of these guys going right. The Blue Jays are a team that hasn't been talked about, and sometimes not being talked about is a good thing. So what we want to do in our final segment is we want to talk about the Cubs, and Dansby Swanson is about to go on the IL. And that's huge because the Cubs, while they're fighting, it just makes their fight all the more tough in the National League.
Yeah, one last point on the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays, even with all the struggles they've had with Vladdy, having an OPS of a singles hitter, they're only a half game back in the American League wild card. So I mean, they are right on the verge. So if they can get Vladdy back right, I mean, that may give them a few more runs, and with that pitching staff, they may be able to do something, get into that wild card.
That's right. Hang tight, stay tuned, and we'll get you on the other side. Make baseball season more this year on Kalshi, America's #1 prediction market platform. You can trade on every single game. On August 18th, the Astros are taking on the Angels for an AOS division rivalry. 62% probability is what the Astros are trading at to beat the Angels, meaning that a $100 trade pays out $159. On Kalshi, you're trading against peers in a live market, meaning there's no house. And as the probability changes, you can buy in or out of your position. Trade the draft pick, the game, and more on Kalshi. Download the Kalshi app and use the code LOCKEDON to get up to $500 in bonus credits when you trade $25. KALSHI, Kalshi, trade on anything. 18 and up only. Restrictions and eligibility requirements apply. Event contract trading involves risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Kalshi products are not available in all jurisdictions. Prices, values, and available markets may differ from those mentioned. For more information, see kalshi.com/regulatory.
All right, welcome back to the Bullpen, presented by the Locked On Network. Now we're going to another team that has some pretty high aspirations on what they would like to do this year. It's a team that came in with a lot of expectations because they finally spent some money. I know Cubs fans or something were pretty excited about that. But the problem is this is one of the best teams defensively in Major League Baseball, and the most premier position on that team is shortstop, and Dansby Swanson is going on the IL with an oblique injury.
Yeah, this is interesting, Mike. As we are doing this show live, the Cubs in the bottom of the 9th tied the game. It's 5-5. Now it's the top of the 10th. There's bases loaded with 2 outs. The White Sox are fighting. Not only are the White Sox and Cubs fighting for playoff position, apparently something went viral tonight out in the outfield bleachers. White Sox and Cubs fans got into quite a brawl out in the bleachers. So
we got a melee in the bleachers. The bleacher creatures are getting the stirring and getting a little frisky out there. I told you it's the dog days. Everybody's on edge.
Everybody's on edge in Chicago. But what's interesting is they're both going to be in the playoffs. So, but let's get to Dansby Swanson. This is an MRI will determine the severity. We haven't heard anything about it, but here's the thing: oblique strains, that's not good.
Well, we've talked about it many times.
Because what is the only thing you can do? Rest.
You can't do anything, including, you want to be one of the most painful things you can do is sneeze when you have an oblique issue, because you clench up every muscle in your core. Yeah, this is not a good situation, because now we don't know what the severity of it is, and it was on a swing on Sunday, and he immediately took himself out of the game, which is exactly what he should have done. But offensively, he's a league average hitter. Average wise, he's got 18 home runs, he's got 66 RBIs. I don't think it's going to be difficult for them to find that kind of offense, but where they're going to miss it is they're going to miss him defensively. He's the best defensive player on one of the best defensive teams in Major League Baseball. You can't just replace that. The other side of this is a veteran that he's been there for a while now. He is one of the team leaders. And so that's another aspect that you're going to, a lot like Vladdy, even though Swanson has been a better offensive player than Vladdy. The offensive numbers, those aren't going to be all that difficult to replace, but it's the leadership, it's the defense, and that's where they're going to miss Dansby the most.
Well, it's still astounding to me that the number 1 and number 2 overall draft pick of that year is both Alex Bregman and Dansby Swanson on the same team.
The left side of the Cubs field. Yeah.
Right. Well, how the Cubs adjust is they take Nico Horner, they move him from second back to short.
Natural shortstop.
Then you have a rookie, Pedro Ramirez. And look, Matt Shaw is near a return from the IL. So if Matt Shaw returns from the IL, that's huge. So then you can piece together an infield. But my thing is, you hope that it's not too bad of a strain, maybe grade 1, because if it's severe, you're talking 6 weeks. That's the regular season.
Yeah. That's it.
And
You're done.
then,
And to tell you the truth, it's 6 weeks, and then you have to get ready to play again.
So, okay. So I was listening to Cal Ripken Jr. and I didn't know this. And I don't know if you knew, you may have known this because you actually played against Cal Ripken. But he played through a herniated disc to keep the streak going.
Yeah.
And he said it was so painful. And I was like, how do you play baseball with a hernia? And actually he had one of his better offensive years that year. So herniated disc, obliques, those are injuries that are so difficult. It's not like a sore knee.
Right.
I mean, this is just one of those, for the Cubs' sake, you hope that it's not major, that he gets his rest and he's able to come back and perform.
Well, herniated disc, and those, they're usually lower back. That's the problem. And you can't say you can't make the injury worse. You can, but it's manageable. Medication, ice, stretching, all that kind of stuff. The problem with an oblique strain, which is basically it's a pulled muscle in one your side, and for a right-handed hitter, it's on his left side. So that's the side that he's accelerating with when he swings the bat. That's where he did it. It's a pulled muscle. And so there's no way to manage that pain. And if you re-injure an oblique, basically double the amount of time you're out. I mean, that's how severe it can be. So
now
something they have to really take care of, especially right here until they figure out exactly how severe it is.
Well, okay. So some breaking news. Okay. So tonight,
ticker tape.
Yeah. So tonight, okay. Two of the top two MVP candidates for National League are who? Remember?
PCA
and
Shohei.
Shohei hit 2 home runs tonight. PCA led off tonight with a home run. PCA just walked off the Cubs against the White Sox, hit his second home run tonight.
There you go.
PCA has 30 home runs. Shohei Ohtani has 30 home runs. Wow. I mean, this is in someone like PCA is why someone like Dansby Swanson being out matters. It doesn't hurt as much, even though it's not good. But PCA, Pete Crow Armstrong, is just one of those guys. I mean, he just absolutely destroys baseballs, and he's playing with so much confidence. So there you go. I mean, right as we're live, the Cubs walk off the White Sox had bases loaded in the top of the 10th inning and didn't score a run. So 7-5 Cubs over White Sox.
Yeah, and listen, that's the kind of drama we're talking about. Pete Crow Armstrong. That's the kind of drama that you win, that helps you win MVPs. It's not necessarily about the numbers. It's about when do you put the numbers up. And I told you before, I think that Pete Crow Armstrong has a legitimate shot as long as Shohei doesn't pitch. If Shohei comes back and he's able to pitch, get 3 or 4 starts, and he has started throwing bullpens, then I think that you got to give it to the freak. But if he doesn't, because the numbers that Shohei has put up pitching wise are just absolutely ridiculous.
Oh yeah.
So if he comes back and now he's the two-way player again, it's going to be hard not to give it. But that doesn't take anything away from Pete Crow Armstrong and the incredible season that he's had.
Well, it just makes you wonder. I still think they need to create a whole different award.
Player of the year. They need a player of the year. Yeah.
Just player of
Not
the year.
Not that we need another one, because we got trophies for frickin' everything. Only thing's missing now, and it may be coming with the culture that we're in this country, and is participation trophies. But
yeah, no, it's funny. Crispy came on here and said PCA just walked it off. Yeah, I mean, we just got to be talking about that. But Shohei Ohtani tonight, 4 for 5, 2 home runs, 3 RBIs, 4 runs.
Ho hum, another day.
Just another day at the office, and he didn't even have The highest win probability added. Mike, this is something that I love doing. MLB.com will let you vote for player of the game. And what they do, they take all the stats of the game and they have the WPA. So like,
right.
If you did something, Max Muncy had a 20.1 WPA, but Shohei Ohtani had a 4.5. And I'm like, what? Like, I still don't understand the math behind it.
Right.
I just vote for who I think was the player of the game.
There
but man, look, here's the thing. Baseball is a team sport. You need all your horses there and healthy. And if they're not, it's about the next man up. And you can't cry. Nobody's going to feel sorry for you. And it was like, oh, we're going to spot you a run because Max is out, or, we're going to no, like, you got to go with the person that brought you. And I mean, we've seen clubs come into the playoffs and be a surprise and shock the world. So even though people may have a predetermined champion this year, nothing's done until it's done.
No. And the Dodgers, by the way, the Dodgers bullpen is having real issues. Okay. So by no means is this just a slam dunk that the Dodgers are going to win their third.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
No, not at all. I mean, the Dodgers just got beat this last week.
Yeah. The closer, Edwin Diaz, has actually blown three saves, 3 out of 4, something like
Milwaukee.
that. Yeah.
Milwaukee just 3 out of 4.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean,
and Edwin Diaz blew 3 saves in that series.
Wow. Well, you know what? Thank y'all for tuning in. This has been a great show. We went all over the league, but I think we talked about some very relevant things. Make sure that y'all come back to the Bullpen, 10 o'clock, Sunday through Thursday. You can get us on audio on Apple, Google, or Spotify. Hey, we appreciate y'all downloading us, listening to us on your way to work, on your way home from work. Just make sure you tune in. Again, we've got Mike Stanton, the 19-year Major League veteran. You got me, the 2004 dodgeball champion. So we're here to just keep you guys up on all the baseball news. So, Mike, you got any parting words before we go?
I don't. Let's just you guys need to pay attention. We're going to keep you up to date on everything that's going on. And like we say, what do you got to say?
Play ball.
Adios.